Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Tales from the Fandom. Today, I am joined by somebody who I might not have run across at Holiday Matsuri here in Orlando, Florida, but I did find their pictures on Instagram, and I am so excited to have them be a guest on this episode today. I am joined by Kris. How are you doing today, Kris?
I am doing awesome. I'm so excited. I can't even tell you.
I am so excited to have you. I know that it came. It is funny when we were talking before the episode started, before we started recording this, is that you were like, "Are you even serious?" When I sent you a message asking to have you as a guest.
Yeah, because I've generally been like a boring person, so it's like, why would anyone want to know what I have to say? That kind of thing.
In almost 4 years of doing this, I haven't come across any generally boring people. Everyone has some kind of story to tell and some kind of thing that they're super into that, they leap at the chance to talk about. And I know that you've got a few things that we're going to talk about today to get started with different fandoms and get this under the belt for you.
I'm so excited.
What was interesting when I was searching for people that had attended Holiday Matsuri, because I had attended, but I was only able to attend for one day, which was unfortunate. But I searched through the Instagram, like the hashtags, like HallMat 2019. So that way, because I had seen a number of people that I'd been interested in reaching out to, but I came across them as busy or just they weren't like the people I was looking for. But then there's always a certain cosplay or character that I love. I love, like, from the X-Men, I love Kitty Pryde, but from Final Fantasy, one of my favorite characters is Garnet. And you had worn a Garnet cosplay to HallMat, and I was like, oh snap, let me take a look at her work. And lo and behold, like, your photos in Garnet cosplay were amazing, and I was like, I got to reach out to you.
Oh my god. Thank you so much. Thank you for noticing and admiring it. I was so excited to do Garnet that day because I had been telling people I was gonna do her for maybe like a year and a half now. So to finally do her felt like really good, for lack of a better word, I guess. Yeah, I wore her for, what was it? I think Saturday of HallMat, and she's so comfortable to wear. I actually bought her secondhand from another cosplayer, and I was really nervous that, like, I don't know that like some people wouldn't know or wouldn't appreciate it. I don't really go in cosplay to be appreciated, but like I love her so much that I was like, I just want to do her justice. Like she's such a special character to me that like I was just like, I want to rock this cosplay for the sake of it.
Absolutely. And Garnet is just such a wonderful character from the Final Fantasy fandom. So I have to ask, because we're going to talk about Final Fantasy. How did you get into the Final Fantasy series? Like, what was your first exposure to it?
Oh my god. Okay, this is gonna sound really weird, but the first time I ever knew anything about Final Fantasy was actually through Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
So Kingdom Hearts, my cousin told me, you're gonna like this game. And I said, why? And he was like, because it has Disney, and I know how much you love Disney. And I was like, I'm down, I'm in. And I actually first met, like, one of the first characters you meet in Kingdom Hearts is Squall, or in the game is Leon. And I was like, oh, who's he? And my cousin was trying to explain to me what Final Fantasy was. Like, he's from Final Fantasy VIII. And then we met Yuffie, and he was like, she's from Final Fantasy VII. And I'm like, what's the difference? Is it like so I was like, so is it like a continuous series? Like, oh, you got to play 1 before you can get to 7? Or I was dumb enough to think that like Final Fantasy was a continuous series, like a one storyline series. But he was trying so hard to explain to me, like, no, 8 is its own story, 7 is its own story, and then kind of I was so focused on Kingdom Hearts that I was so confused by what he was telling me that I just stopped. I was like, "Nope, that's something else. That's not for me." Because at the time I wasn't very into video games.
Hmm.
So fast forward later in my life, Final Fantasy 15 was coming out, and it was like this huge hype. Like everyone was talking about it, and I was in college when it came out, so my roommates were really into cosplay. They were the ones who introduced me, and they were gonna do a 7 group, and it was gonna be my first convention. And I was like, oh, well, I want to be part of your group because I don't want to do a solo or anything like that. So I looked into Final Fantasy 15 and I fell in love with Luna Freya. So I cosplayed her Kingsglaive outfit from the movie, and that was my first ever introduction to 15, or not to 15, to Final Fantasy, like in general, as an interest. And then after that, the ball kind of just got rolling. We did 7 together, and then I ended up doing more Final Fantasy than I expected to do, but I also ended up looking into the games and loving it. So, that was it. That was how it happened.
That is an interesting insight into people getting into Final Fantasy in totally different ways, because normally you just stumble across it or you have a friend that's playing it. You just find the game, but to find it through Kingdom Hearts is especially just, I don't think I've heard of people doing that, but then getting into it from that entry point. Because man, Final Fantasy plus Disney equals Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, Kingdom Hearts is not a game for me. I cannot do the active adventuring, like fighting with buttons. Like I need Final Fantasy to like slow me down and let me make my choices.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, when I started, I think, what game did I start with? I did start with 15 when I played Final Fantasy for the first time. And 15, like, it's not too different from how you play Kingdom Hearts. So
Hmm.
when I backtracked and tried playing 7 for the first time, I was like, "What is it?" And then I backtracked even more and I played 6 on both the handheld console, the Game Boy Advance, as well as the SNES. And I was like, "What is this?"
You're like, why is it going so slow?
Right? What made it worse is it was slower, and somehow I was doing worse. Like it took me forever to get past the first battle in Final Fantasy 6. I was like, "What?" It should
Oh
not
my
have been that
goodness.
difficult, but it was, and I didn't understand why.
That is wild. So, out of the Final Fantasy franchise, which games have you tackled besides, you said 15 and 7 and 6? Have you gone through any of the others?
Let's see. I I don't have a lot of time to play video games, so like I don't want people judging if I haven't played, but I have watched.
I just okay. I just want to say this is a judgment-free zone. There will be no judging because even I have not played all the Final Fantasies. Okay, so everyone that's out there, no judging. Okay.
All right, I've played 6, 7, and parts of 8 and 9, and I watched the cutscene movies of 10 and 13, and then played 15.
Okay.
I had to do it chronologically, or else I knew I was gonna miss one. Oh yeah, and then I played Dissidia.
Okay, I don't think I've played that one. But there's a couple that I haven't played at all where it's just like, I don't know what happened. I generally, now that I'm old and I have kids that get upset because I try to play Final Fantasy and I have to wait to get to a save point, and they're like, "I want the TV, I want to play video games, and your video game is boring," which they told me straight up when I was playing Final Fantasy X. And I just said, okay, here, let me just get off. And
Disrespect.
I know it's harsh. They're very harsh to me about when I try to do things.
Kids these days.
Which Final Fantasy is your favorite out of the ones that you've played?
6, hands down. I just there's something like whimsy about the storyline, but that's also dark about 6 that I just absolutely love. And then Tara as a character, the main protagonist, she's like my all-time favorite girl. She's just so she's like beaten and kind of broken, but that's kind of what makes her come back stronger. And like, you almost don't realize that she's the strongest person in the game when she's so beaten and broken, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of love for tragic characters, basically.
That I think I've talked about it on a few different episodes. There's like my favorite is Final Fantasy IV,
Hmm.
and I have to say, like, I don't know what it was. I know I was in high school at the time when 6 came out, like originally back on the Super Nintendo,
Hmm.
and I never played it. I haven't played it. I haven't played it to this day. I always feel bad because everyone there's always that split of the people that love 6 as their favorite game and the people that love 7.
Hmm.
And I never played 6. I always wanted to play 6, and now I definitely don't have the time to play 6 to like sink into leveling up the characters and everything. But I've gotten enough like information from the internet and watching people play it like on Twitch and stuff, and I'm like, "Ah, yeah, I would have dug this game back in the day."
Yeah, I think it's never too late to get back into it. And it's
That's
just,
true.
I don't know, it's one of those games that I go back to and it just brings back like such joy to me. And like when I hear Terra's theme start playing, that's like when I was like, that's like, yeah, everything is good in the world.
So you started with 15. You worked your way backwards
Mhm.
to some of these older ones. From your viewpoint, because especially since you got into it from Kingdom Hearts and then you started with 15, what do you like better with like maybe with 6 and 7 versus what do you like with what they've done with the newer games like 15?
I think 6 and 7 is just, I feel like you can kind of tell they put in a lot more time for story and character development. And like, it's really like heartfelt. And I don't know, 15, I don't want to bash 15 as a game because it was still a pretty good game, I guess. But it's just, it just doesn't feel the same. Like you can kind of tell the vibe is different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just also 15 for me, personally, kind of bodes a couple of bad memories that I don't go back to it as often as I wish I did.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lot of personal things happened during 15 for me. And I kept trying to say, I'm going to redeem it. I'm going to play it again. And I'm going to cosplay Luna again. And I'm going to remember why I loved it. But like, I can never find the heart or the want to do it. So it's just, as a game itself, it's still pretty good. I think it still has a lot of differences in vibe and tone and just overall story compared to like the earlier ones. And then as a
Mm-hmm.
personal thing, I just wouldn't go back to it.
I totally get that. I know that, there, I think everyone has those, like you're going through the bad times, and whether it's a TV show or a movie or something where like you watch it, but you're at that point in life where just things aren't good and you connect the two
Hmm.
because I know that there's like pieces of music that if I hear them, it instantly takes me back to like the not good times in
Hmm.
my life. And I just like I have to change the station. But then it's like that lingering effect of like, dang, like I really wish I hadn't heard that. And I can totally understand having to like going through that with like a video game series and just having to be like, okay, you're a good game, but I can't. Like you're just gonna have
Right.
to sit over there.
It's like you did your part in my life. You played your part in my life. You have a little footnote in the story of my life, but that's it. That's all you get is that footnote.
Absolutely. Final Fantasy is known for like its expansive, wonderful groups of characters.
hmm
And just out of curiosity, I know you've made mention of a few, but do you have a favorite? And if you can't name a favorite, that's okay. Like I'll take a top three. That's cool too. But I'm just curious, like who do you really just love, like from the series?
Like I said earlier, it's definitely Tara. She's like my number one girl. For the reasons I've already said, it's just her storyline and her character. Like she's this sweet and innocent girl because she's very naive. She doesn't know any better, but she's so strong and she needs the game, like the story of the game, to kind of realize how like her strength. But Garnet, the reason why I wanted to do her so bad is Nine wasn't really on my radar as a game in general because what I had heard of it was that it does a lot of throwback to earlier
Mm-hmm.
games, and I had in my mind I had not played the earlier games enough to really understand the references or to really understand what people were talking about. So Nine was never on my radar. But how it got to be on my radar was two people very, very close to me that I love very much. Um, my she's not my actual big sis, but we talk so much and so often about life in general, not just cosplay. Her name's Jen. She goes by Jen Oi on Instagram, and we met through Final Fantasy. We met through Instagram, and she's like my big sister. I love her so much. And then my boyfriend Nick, one of the first topics we ever talked about before we even started dating was Final Fantasy and which was his favorite versus which was my favorite. And both of those people that I love so much said Nine. And I was like, they love Nine so like passionately, like how much I love Six, that I needed to know what's going on in Nine.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got into Nine. And then I fell in love with Garnet as a character too, because like she's different in Terra in that she is willing to go against family and country to do what she knows is right. And I have a lot of respect for characters who do that because I myself cannot do that.
Yeah, I remember when I saw the trailers for Nine way, way back in the day, and I remember when they showed like Garnet wearing the white robe
hmm
with the red triangles, and I was like, oh man, that's straight up like white mage from back in Final Fantasy. And then they showed Vivi, and I'm like, that's straight up black mage from Final Fantasy. And that was like the connection of, especially for me as a person that enjoys Final Fantasy, I really like the fantasy aspect of it. And when they went to like 7 and 8 and it got that futuristic ish vibe to it with guns and
hmm
like machines and stuff of that nature, I kind of had pulled away. And then I saw when 9 was like, oh man, they're throwing it back like old school, like straight up fantasy. Like that is what I'm here for.
Right.
And I got the game and I played it, and I have to again admit that I did not finish it because that game was a long game.
Yeah.
But I fell in love with Garnet so much. I think between Garnet and Vivi, like those two are two of my favorite characters of the Final Fantasy franchise.
Vivi's so cute too.
Oh, Vivi is like the best little creature guy, golem mage thing. I just love Vivi.
Nine is just like you said, it's very fantasy, which I actually do enjoy more than futuristic. Eight kind of took me for a loop because they were in space, and I don't compute. I thought this was fantasy, not science fiction. I was never really into science fiction, so I was like, I'm very confused. But then Nine was like fantasy, and I was like, yes, this is my
Mhm.
style right there.
That's right. Yeah. So you got into Final Fantasy through Kingdom Hearts. You got your favorite characters. You got your favorite game. I just have to know whenever it happens, whenever the next game is announced, like Final Fantasy 16 or whatever they're going to do next. Like, are you going to be are you going to be there for it? Are you going to just be like, I'm here, I'm Final Fantasy, and I'm going to play this game?
Oh, like hell yeah, hell yeah. I mean, Final Fantasy at this point has been like a huge part of my life. So, I'm gonna keep supporting Square Enix as they come out with more Final Fantasies, but they're gonna have to work really hard to knock out my favorites from the top threes.
Mhm.
So at first I thought like 15 was it, that's the one, and then I saw the other ones and I was like, ah, never mind.
There's more out there.
Exactly. So yes, if a 16 ever comes out, I'll be there to support it. Will I get it opening day? Probably not. Like I didn't even pre-order 7, the 7 remake.
Mhm.
It's just not high of priority for me to be like first day kind of thing or
Right.
pre-order now kind of thing. But eventually, yeah, I'll get there. I'll eventually get it and play it and support them.
That's awesome. I love Final Fantasy so much. It's so good. I really need to like tell the kids to knock it off and leave me alone so I can play my games, but they uh they really just they really want the TV, and I just get relegated back to my computer, which I mean I guess I could get the Final Fantasies for my computer, but I work at my computer so long
It's
I
available
don't
on
wanna
Switch.
Oh, that's true. That is so true. You have just revealed to me that I know nothing yet again, because I always forget that, I have a Switch. The only thing that I'm ever looking forward to on the Switch is Animal Crossing, which is
Oh
less
my
than a month
god.
away, and I'm like, yes, Animal Crossing. I need Animal Crossing, but yes, there are other things for the Switch besides the future of Animal Crossing.
I never got into Animal Crossing and I don't know if I ever will. I keep telling my friends, like jokingly, if I ever was the mayor of one of these things, everyone would probably leave, up and leave my town, probably kill a few people, you know.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. What's interesting, because I can use Final Fantasy kind of as a segue to our next fandom that we're going to talk about, is Kingdom Hearts. You learned about Final Fantasy through Kingdom Hearts, but the other flip side of Kingdom Hearts is Disney. And you say that you love Disney.
Oh my gosh. I am a huge Disney nerd. Like every time I cosplay, I think, why have I not done a Disney one yet? I've been so much Final Fantasy cosplay. I keep telling myself, okay, I'm gonna do something else, and then I fall back into doing Final Fantasy cosplays. But this is the year. This is it. This I have to do it. I keep telling people I have to do a Disney cosplay before I retire. Cosplay in general.
What drew you to Disney to begin with? Because it's so wide ranging as far as where people started with Disney, whether it's movies or TV shows or Disney parks or comics or whatever. Like, where did you first get your Disney nerd on? Like, how did you get into Disney?
It started at a young age, my friend. My parents unintentionally raised me on Disney. I was born in the 90s, so the Disney Renaissance was happening. And
Mm-hmm.
for non-Disney nerds, the Disney Renaissance was a period of Disney animation that ranged from 1989 to 1999. So you got your Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Mulan, Tarzan, all those really good oldie animated ones. That was the
Mm-hmm.
Renaissance. And
Yes.
yeah, and like I said, I was a little kid back in the 90s, so I had pretty much most of them, most of the Renaissance on VHS, and
Mm-hmm.
that was my childhood, just watching and rewatching those Disney movies. And as I got older, I was kind of I didn't want to believe in the other Disney movies that came out, like the new age Disney movies. Like when they moved from animation to CGI, I was like, no, go back to the Renaissance. But I always watch Disney movies with like an open mind, and you just can't get rid of the Disney magic. And when I go back to the movies that I was raised on, it's just like everything is right in my world. All is good.
Mm-hmm.
It just brings back so many good memories, no matter like what kind of a day I'm having. If I have a couple Disney songs on my iPod, and I'll put it on shuffle, just like the whole playlist on shuffle, and a Disney song will randomly play in between Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift, and I'm like, ah, childhood, good times.
Oh, that's funny. And then as you're saying that, I'm like, Ed Sheeran as a Disney prince and Taylor Swift as a Disney princess
Yes,
in a feature animated movie coming up, which
yes.
I'm totally making up, by the way, but
Make it
I could
happen.
see it.
Make it
I could
happen.
see it.
I will gladly watch that day one in cosplay.
Of course, I've got, the traditional questions of what's your favorite Disney movie?
Ooh, okay. So I have a top three, and they all interchange. Which one's my absolute favorite?
Hey, that works.
Mulan, of course, Asian representation. Hello. Aladdin and The Little Mermaid. Those three are my top threes. I can watch them all day, every day on repeat. And of course, they're all from the Renaissance.
Absolutely. They are all good movies, and they are all movies that I really enjoy. I do have to say, because it's very funny that you bring up Mulan, because out of all of the Disney movies that I've watched and that we have shown our kids and everything, my wife still refuses to watch Mulan. I don't
What?
know why. She just is not into Mulan at all, and it really upsets me at times, because I'm like, Mulan is so good. Like, how can you not want to watch Mulan? Like, don't you want to sing along about like that,
Being a man?
they'll make a man out of you? Like, you know, come on. I don't know. Like, I don't know who I married sometimes.
Mulan is probably the only, no, not the only, one of the only Disney movies that my family will willingly watch with me. Because, like, I apparently got all the Disney genes. No one else loves Disney as much as I do in this family, so I don't know what I was born into. But, yeah, when I put it on, it's like, yeah, we'll all watch it with you. Sure, why not? And it's just so special to me because, like, yes, she was the first Asian representation that I had been introduced to as a child, but her story with her father and going off to war with her father, it kind of hits home for me because I have a very close relationship with my own father. So it was one of those things. So she did women empowerment, but also like she had her dad, and that's something I want to have in my life, like empowerment, but also I need my dad.
Hmm.
It's kind of funny when I watch Mulan with my dad. I'm one of four girls. I'm one of five kids in total, but there's four of us girls and then a brother. And every time we watch Mulan with my dad, my dad would be like, "You know what the difference between you and Mulan is?" And I'm like, "What?" And he would be like, "I would have sent you to war in my place." I'm like, "Daddy." He's like, "What? I have five kids. Go."
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to make that a quote for promoting this podcast episode, is just that right there.
Story of my life.
Oh my goodness. What and it's interesting that you have Aladdin, Little Mermaid, and Mulan as your three favorite, and now they are coming out with they've had the Aladdin live action movie come out,
Yeah.
and they have Mulan
Mhm.
this year, and Little Mermaid probably I think is next year.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Just because I know I've talked with a lot of Disney people, and people fall on, they like them, they don't like them. So what's your opinion on them?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So when the live actions first started coming out and Cinderella came out in 2015, I knew nothing about it. I had no idea until my friend took me to the movies and we saw it together. And I really liked the live action Cinderella. After that, I was like, okay, I want to know what these live actions are all about. And Jungle Book came out and I liked it. But when Beauty and the Beast came out as a live action, it actually really, I didn't like it. Like, I didn't think it really hit the nail on the head.
Hmm.
And I figured the reason I didn't like it was because for the previous two movies, I wasn't invested in them. Like, I wasn't watching trailers, I wasn't watching clips or anything like that. But I had been invested in Beauty and the Beast. I was like watching the clips as they came out and watching the trailers as they came out. And there was so much hype with Emma Watson as Belle and all that jazz
Hmm.
that when it finally came out, I was like, it just felt overhyped. It didn't do it for me. So ever since then, I always, when the live actions would start coming out, I would make a point to not watch any of the trailers, any of the clips, not listen to any of the talk surrounding it because I figured ignorance was bliss. If I went in with no expectations, maybe I'd like it more as a movie.
Right.
And I did it for Aladdin, and I actually really liked Aladdin. And Aladdin is,
Hmm.
like I said, in my top three. Like, I have a lot of expectation for just going in general. I had so many things. I was like, what if Will Smith doesn't live up to Robin Williams? Because I mean, it's Robin Williams,
Right.
and then it's are they going to do any new songs from the Broadway musical? Because I had watched the Broadway musical, and just are these people going to live up to what I had hoped in a movie, a live action version of Aladdin? And I actually really did enjoy it. I was really happy that I did because it would have sucked to not like one of my top three movies as a live action. But um yeah, that one was good, but The Lion King, that one I tried the same concept. I didn't watch any of the trailers. I didn't do any of the preparation for that, but I just watched it on Disney Plus and
Hmm.
I did not enjoy it personally. And I think it was, if you watch Lion King, like the opening sequence is very much frame by frame exactly what the original one was, which is pretty cool to watch. It's
Hmm.
basically the original movie, but in a more CGI, realistic kind of look. But then when it got to the characters speaking, like it just didn't feel the same. Like, I don't know why. I don't know if it was just character differences or voice actor differences. There was just something that wasn't clicking for me, and I couldn't get past that. So I'm very 50-50 on the live actions,
Okay.
but
I,
I'm keeping hope up for Mulan. Like, they got to get my girl right.
I totally understand. I mean, I don't I've not watched the Cinderella one, but I've watched Jungle Book and I liked it. It was all right. Like it felt like enough to throw back to the Jungle Book animated one, but is totally in its own way. Uh Beauty and the Beast. I know that I did like a special podcast episode about it. The one thing that will always say is the animated one was nominated for a Best Picture back when animated movies didn't even have a category for themselves, and the one takeaway was this was not a movie that would have come close to being nominated for
Mhm.
a Best Picture, on top of like the issues that surrounded like the movie and what they decided to go with as far as like songs or costuming choices. Like it's a very pretty movie,
Mhm.
but it just wasn't Beauty and the Beast.
Exactly.
Um, Aladdin, I loved. But I remember because you say that you try to stay away from stuff. I remember when they had pictures of Will Smith that were leaked out, and they were like, "Oh yeah, here's Will Smith, but he's painted blue," and people were like, This doesn't look good," and they started trashing the movie. But then when they went to go see it, they're like, "Oh yeah, this works. It's a good movie," and I liked Aladdin. My kids just had Lion King on the other weekend, and I walked by, and it was during Scar and the Hyenas, like where they should be singing Be Prepared.
Mhm.
And he was monologuing it, and
Not good.
it was not what I wanted.
Let me
And
tell you.
it felt very weird to look at these animals and know that they don't exist at all. They're just computer animation.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't. Like, I don't know.
I think when Lion King first started getting promoted that it was gonna be a live action, I said 2 things. I remember this very clearly. I said 2 things. One was, um, if James Earl Jones doesn't reprise Mufasa, the whole movie's a bust. And the other one was this was right after I found out the official voice cast. Jeremy Irons not being Scar. This pretty much half ruined it for me. So basically my expectation for that movie hinged on those 2 people, which is not good.
Well,
But
yeah, it was James Earl Jones that reprised as Mufasa, correct? I
yeah.
want to make sure. Okay, but I know Jeremy Irons was not Scar.
No, but he did like he in an interview, I think, maybe a year or 2 before the live action was coming out, he said he would be happy to reprise him, and I'm like, "Why didn't you take him up on that offer?"
Right? Like that's the thing that I've heard from a few with regards to that is you have the cast still around. Like they haven't gone anywhere for the most part.
Mhm.
You don't need to
It's like
you don't
some
need to do
people
this.
were super iconic, and those were these animated movies were the first time I was ever introduced to these big actors, like
Mhm.
Whoopi Goldberg being Shenzi or, Lea Salonga, a huge Filipino singer and idol. That was the first time I ever heard of her was singing as Mulan and Jasmine.
Mhm.
So it's like to replace some of the people that were iconic in these movies when you know you had the opportunity to get them back is just kind of like a kick in the butt.
Absolutely. But we've got Mulan coming soon, and then we've got Little Mermaid,
Oh my god.
which which man, that casting, once they announced it, the amount of people coming out talking smack about it was not cool. Like generally I don't go into like the negativity of stuff on the podcast, but dang, I hate when people are chosen and then other people are like, well, she can't be a mermaid. Like, come on. We're talking about a mermaid here, everybody.
Right? For me, it's like I've learned you just have to give people a chance because they might surprise you. I mean, look at Emma Watson as Belle. Everyone was freaking out. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, yes, she's gonna be beautiful and perfect." And honestly, I didn't like her Belle. Like she wasn't it for me. So you just gotta give people a chance. You don't know what they'll do until they actually do it.
Absolutely.
And Little Mermaid, though, like I'm just ready for that to come out. Like another movie came out with the exact same title, and I think it was also by Disney called The Little Mermaid. And I was really upset because when I looked at it, it was not the Little Mermaid that I had hoped for, and I was like, well, that was a lie.
Oh, was it way back in like when the animated one came out?
No, no, no,
Like
no.
the
There was like this live action Little
Okay,
Mermaid
yeah.
movie. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the storyline was. I think it's supposed to be closer to the original Hans Christian Andersen
Mhm.
story.
Yeah, yep.
but it was not. It was marketed as Little Mermaid, but it was not the Little Mermaid I had been expecting, especially
Right.
since
It,
that was
it,
the
it was
hype.
not Disney's The Little Mermaid.
Exactly. And of course that just broke my heart. I was like, "Well, I've been lied to."
I remember when The Little Mermaid was coming out in movie theaters, and I was a kid at back in those days. I was a kid, and my parents said, "No, you're not going to go see it," because they had only known of the Hans Christian Andersen Little
Mhm.
Mermaid story, and they were very protective over not wanting like me and my sister to go see it and then see like what happens to
Right.
Ariel or the Little Mermaid in the story. And
Yeah,
you
mhm.
know, eventually we did see it. I think is on VHS, and it's funny that you and I are talking about VHS, and there are going to be people listening to this
Like, what's
podcast that
VHS?
have no idea what VHS is, which was the way that we used to watch things before DVDs and Blu-rays and streaming.
I still have all of my old Disney VHS movies, and my brother's like, "You can make a lot of money if you sell it on eBay." And I'm like, "This is my childhood. I can't put a price on my childhood."
Oh, I have the exact same thing. In fact, we had a yard sale a couple years ago, and I'd sold off most of my other like videotape collection,
Mhm.
but I kept all of my Disney clamshell video move or all the VHS movies, and I have them in a box. I don't have a VCR to play them. They just sit in the garage, but that's where they're going to sit
Ain't that the
until
truth?
like probably until I die, and then my kids will be like, why did my dad hold on to these for so long? They're on Disney Plus now."
Right? It's like it's not even DVD or Blu-ray. Now it's on Disney Plus. Now it's streaming. You don't have any excuse to keep them anymore.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's actually gonna be my next cosplays.
On top of Disney movies, like do you watch like Disney TV shows? Do you go to the Disney parks? Like, or is it just strictly Disney movies for
Oh
you?
no, like I want to do the Disney parks more often, especially since I live in Florida, but it's just so expensive. But actually, in March, the end of March, a group of my friends and I are going to the parks for one of their birthdays, which of
Mhm.
course I'm excited about. Like I'm the type of person who will go to the Disney parks to meet the characters. And it's like ever since Wreck-It Ralph 2 came out and the Disney princesses have like a casual look, like that's what I've
Mhm.
been going for. Like I'm gonna wear casual Ariel to that park and casual
Nice.
Jasmine. And I don't know if you've already seen, but on my profile, I just posted a little while ago a picture of my casual Mulan outfit from Wreck-It Ralph 2 because that like I was like that's it. That's the first one I have to do. And it felt refreshing and an honor. The first Disney character I low key cosplayed, even though low key like I cosplayed was Mulan. So Wreck-It Ralph 2 has saved me a lot of cosplay stress over cosplaying these girls.
Oh, absolutely. And I did see that picture, and I made sure because I just checked as you were talking. I was like, I'm pretty sure I saw it. Okay, yeah, I did. I got it. Yeah, we when before we had kids, which was back like 10 plus years ago at this point, my wife and I had annual passes, and we would go just to meet characters. Like we would be like, okay, today we're just going to character hunt, and we're going to just get as many characters as possible and take pictures with them, and that's our day. And
Yes.
that would be it. And we actually bought like the Disney resident pass that they have now where you get 3 days for like $175, but you got to use it before the end of June. And we went to Disney Studios over the weekend, and then we ate around the world at Epcot because that's that's what we do too. Who cares about
Yes.
rides and stuff? We just want to eat the international food.
That's what I wanted to do when I turned 21. My friends and I, we wanted to drink around the world at Epcot,
Hmm.
but we didn't have money at the time. So, one day
Oh yeah.
you will see me at Epcot drinking around the world in a casual Ariel outfit.
I will say that for my wife and I, we split like whenever we would buy a food item, we'd split it because generally it's big enough
Mhm.
to split it, and it's like it's a bite or two, but it's a good bite, and then you move on to the next area and get something else, and you get something else, and
Mhm.
yeah,
Cute.
it's I love it. We've got one more day left, so we're trying to figure out when we're going to go back and
Oh
which
man, I
park we're
want to
going to
go
go
so
to.
bad. I'm so excited. I want to bring my boyfriend as well because he's not very big into Disney, but he knows I am, so he's willing to like do these things for me. Like I said, well, if I buy us mouse ears, will you wear it? And he's like, yeah, I'll wear it. And it's just Disney is such a special place in my heart
Hmm.
that I just want to bring the people who are special to me there, and I want us all to have a good time. So
Absolutely.
here's hoping.
Absolutely.
Here's hoping next time.
Crossing my fingers for you.
Oh, thank you.
Now, we've talked Final Fantasy and we've talked Disney, and I'd love to merge them together into what I call cosplay
Yay.
because you that again, how I found you was your Garnet cosplay from Holiday Matsuri. You have done a number of other characters on top of Garnet. If
Hmm.
people check out your Instagram, I always like to lead with my cosplay question of how did you decide to even get into doing cosplay?
Well, like ever since the whole Disney phase started when I was a kid, I always liked the idea of dressing up as these characters, but I never really had the opportunity to, other than, Halloween.
Hmm.
So when my college roommates at the time gave me an in, they're like, "You want to come with us to this convention? You want to go in cosplay?" I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like fun." So that's how I kind of got into cosplay. And then from then on, it's kind of just been one of the only hobbies I have left.
Oh my goodness! So you just got that your roommates were like, "Hey, you want to come and you want to dress up?" And you're like, "Heck yeah!"
Yeah, because they were the type that made their own cosplays.
Hmm.
They're like, "Well, we'll make you one." Like, and they were looking for another person to be part of their group, the more the merrier. So they're like, "Well, we'll make you the cosplay if you want to come and join us." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do that." And I ended up being Yuffie for their Final Fantasy VII group, and then Luna for their Final Fantasy 15 group. So, I really enjoyed doing those characters.
Hmm.
But Luna, let me tell you, Luna was the absolute last time I ever tried making my own cosplay. She was my first extremely difficult cosplay build. I am not a seamstress or a crafter. So, but here's one of the downsides that in my naivety, um, I thought entering cosplay that you weren't a real cosplayer unless you made your own cosplays. Now that I'm older and I've done it so often, I know that that's not true.
Hmm.
So your cosplay can be store bought, it can be secondhand, it can be whatever. You don't have to make it yourself in order to be validated as a cosplayer. You just have to enjoy the character you're doing and just have a good time because I've been in this community long enough to see that there are certain people that only cosplay for the clout, and they get really upset when their following count isn't that high because they feel less validated as a cosplayer, or people
Hmm.
don't appreciate their cosplays when they made it themselves. So it's very disheartening because cosplay is basically geeks playing dress up.
Hmm.
It doesn't go any deeper than that. Some people, yes, will do it for money because like they're maybe studying to be costume designers, or it helps fund their future endeavors. And I know some people do it for that reason, and that's fine. But if you're doing it for the purpose of popularity for clout, it kind of just loses any genuineness, any
Mm-hmm.
like authenticity. So that's what I've learned being this many years into doing cosplay.
I totally understand that because with the amount of people that I've had on the podcast as far as cosplay goes, there's definitely the you know there's the people that do it for fun and they do it for enjoyment, and then there's clearly the people that I might not have had on my podcast where you see them talking about like, oh, they dropped in followers, or oh, they really want to hit like a target number, which everyone's got goals and I've
Hmm.
got goals, but I'm not really that like looking at, oh, did I get to 2000, or oh no, I dropped a few people. Like it's not something where I'm that concerned about,
Hmm.
but I can definitely tell, and I've talked with enough people that where you hear about like the clickiness of some people, or the way that they might look down at like people that are new to cosplaying, or people that they I know some people just buy their costumes and make alterations, and they're like, oh, but you didn't do it yourself, and it's like, man, people don't have time to do it themselves
Hmm.
sometimes. Like it's just not that way, and it should just be what it is play,
Hmm.
fun, enjoying the time that you're dressing up and hanging out with people.
I I wish that I knew now. I wish I knew then what I know now, because had I known then that I could have commissioned somebody else for the same amount of money I paid to try and make my own cosplay, I would have just done that, because Luna was a heartbreak in hell, because like I said, I'm not a seamstress, so to make that dress, and I had done her Kingsglaive outfit from the movie, and that dress is so intricate. And here's another thing I learned: you don't have to be detailed to like the finest point.
Hmm.
You don't have to be extremely screen accurate. And like I said, I wish I knew then what I know now, because had I known that I didn't need to be screen accurate, and had I known that I didn't need to make it myself to be validated as a cosplayer, I wouldn't have spent the amount of money I did to make like a half-ass cosplay. Like it came out great. In pictures it looks great,
Hmm.
and I got a lot of compliments on it. But looking back at it, it was not my best. It's not my best, and I would never do it again. And I haven't mentioned anything about this yet, but I actually just commissioned this amazing, amazing cosplayer and commissioner to do Garnet's white dress, like
Hmm.
the princess outfit. And
Right.
she's been sending me a lot of progress pictures, and it's coming out gorgeous. It's beautiful, and I'm so excited to do Garnet again and to do that particular outfit. Like I've always wanted to feel like a princess. So to feel like a princess and one of the characters that I absolutely love, I'm extremely excited for. But
Well, I'm excited for you.
thank you. Hopefully when you see me next time, I'll be in that dress. It, but yeah, if I had done that myself, it would not come out looking as amazing as she's doing it. And to top it off, when you do commission somebody, like it gives them kind of what's it called? What am I looking for? Noticeability, or they get noticed basically.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so like I want more people to know about her, because she's an amazing seamstress, an amazing cosplayer, and I'm gonna be extremely proud to wear her creation. So I just, there's nothing wrong with commissioning other people to make your cosplays, because it just gives them more notoriety. It gives you something that you're going to be proud to wear. And, it doesn't matter if you made it or not, you're still a cosplayer.
Exactly. Now, for you, as far as characters go, like how do you choose who you're going to cosplay? Like what is the draw for you saying like I want to be Garnet, or I know that you've done Katara. So what draws you to the characters that you cosplay?
For me, it's just, do I like their aesthetic as a character? are they aesthetically pleasing? Are they a good character, like either a fun one to be in or just a great character, like personality wise? And do I fit that aesthetic kind of thing? Like it has to be a fandom. I don't know if that made any sense, but it has to be a fandom that I know really well and that I love. And it has to be a character that I love in personality and I think I can do justice in. Because if I don't match their personality a little bit, I feel like I can't do them justice and it just wouldn't feel right, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I would never cosplay. Who's one I would never do? I would never cosplay. I keep telling myself I want to cosplay Azula from Avatar,
Uh-huh.
but I probably would never cosplay Azula from Avatar because our personalities are extremely different. And I just feel like it's not gonna resonate. Like, I'm not gonna be able to bring out the badass Fire Nation princess vibe that she has. Whereas Katara, I've loved Katara for so long. Avatar is such a special fandom to me. And she's very motherly. She's very calm when she needs to be under pressure. And it's just a lot of traits in her I see in myself. So when I cosplayed her, it was just like putting on another outfit almost.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with the characters I pick, I know some people always say they choose like it has to be this badass character. For me, like badass characters are great, and I have done a couple of them that are like strong, independent women. But sometimes I just want to be a damsel in distress. So, which is why like I want to do a couple more Disney princesses because something that one of my past roommates had said to me was that they don't like Ariel in Disney because she's very weak as a character and very just I don't know, she doesn't hold her own, I guess, is what they were saying. And it kind of hurt to hear because not just because I've loved Ariel for so long, but because yes, women empowerment is important and you want to be able to fight your own battles, but everybody needs help. So sometimes you got to be the damsel in distress for lack of a better way to put it because sometimes you just need the help. You can't fight your own battles by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So for me it doesn't matter if a character can hold their own as long as it's a character I know, I love, and I feel like I resonate with them. That's all that matters to me. And hopefully I do the characters I do justice.
Right. Exactly. Now, I've scrolled through your Instagram and I've seen a number of different cosplays and different fandoms that you've intersected with. Do you have any favorites? Like, do you have any favorite cosplays where you're just like, dang, I nailed that, like that cosplay, and I was just feeling it that day, and I just that like I was that character. Like, do you have any like ones where you're just incredibly proud of like just everything coming together for that character?
Definitely Garnet and Katara because oh excuse me. Like I said, both of those characters were characters I had been wanting to do for a very long time, but to finally do them was pretty amazing, but also because it just everything that happened while wearing them just felt so good because I got a lot of pictures and comments about how I looked great as them and the photos I got from my photo shoot came out beautiful thanks to my photographer. So it just felt amazing to be them. And an avatar group actually stopped me. I was just walking past the pool at Hallmat and they were in the middle of a photo shoot and they yelled Katara, Katara, and I didn't even notice it. My friend who was with me noticed, and she was like, "Hey, they're looking for you," and I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "You look amazing, and our Katara dropped from our group. Do you want to join our group?" And I'm like, "Really?" It was the same thing with you. It's just when people ask me to be part of things, it makes me first really nervous because it's like, why do you want me? I'm sure you can get someone better, kind of mentality. Like I never expected to be the one people would want. So it's just a really wholesome feeling to be both of those characters.
With cosplayers, you always hear like what's coming next, and I know you have the dress for Garnet coming, and I know you've talked about the casual Disney princess cosplays that you've got on deck. Are there any others or any other characters that you're looking at and you're like, they're on my list, like I'm going to get to them, I want to do them?
Definitely Ruby from the show Ruby.
Okay.
Yeah, her season or her volume 7 outfit is currently underway with a friend of mine who I've commissioned multiple times already. And I've been very on and off with Ruby as a fandom in general. It's like I'll leave it, but then when I watch it again, it's like, oh yes, I remember why I love it so much. So hopefully she'll be one of those that I do this year. And like I said, I've done a lot of Final Fantasy, so I kind of want to break it up and do a little bit of Kingdom Hearts. So Kairi and Naminé are definitely two that I actually want to make happen this year because I have their cosplays. I just haven't taken them out. So hopefully those. We'll see. Anything can happen.
That's right. Anything can happen. You never know. They might say, I need a Garnet for a Final Fantasy
I would be there
group.
so fast. That was actually the reason I did Katara for Hallmat, because I had a different plan. And I changed that plan the day that we were going to go to Hallmat. Like, I repacked my bags around this. My friend Amy, I saw on her Instagram feed that she was going to bring her Toph. And I was like, I want to be part of that. So I messaged her. I was like, hey, can I be your Katara? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So I unpacked my whole bag, repacked everything to take out one cosplay and to put in Katara, and that's what happened.
Very cool.
But yeah, that's everything is up in the air. You really never know. But I am ready for if anyone needs a Garnet for a Final Fantasy shoot.
You heard it here on this podcast. If anyone needs a Garnet for a shoot, you reach out to Kris and you let her know, and that way you can connect with her.
Oh my god. I'll be surprised though. Like if someone messages me, I'll be like,
Oh my goodness. Well, Kris, the time for our episode has come to a close, shockingly.
oh.
And you have survived.
Oh my gosh, I hope I said some things that were interesting.
I am fairly positive that people will find your episode interesting. And for those people that have listened, thank you for listening. If you would like them, or if for the best places to find you on the internet, where can everyone go to check out your work?
I am always open, always free to chat on my Instagram. It's at Tinapai, TIN.APAY_. So that is where you can reach me. And if you want to ask me about any of the people I talked about, my commissioners, my photographers, all of them are great people. I trust them and I have full faith in them. Please feel free to ask me. The ones that I mentioned were at Tokiten, at Skylo Cosplay, and at Your Pal Rucos. So I'm happy to talk more about them if you wanted to know about them.
Awesome. Well, I will have the link to your Instagram on our show notes and Facebook page and website. So that way, if you are listening to this, you can easily click on that link and take a look at Kris's Instagram for all the wonderful cosplays that she has done and that she will be releasing as time goes on. So give her that follow and hey, drop her a message or a comment and say that you listened to her on the podcast, and that'd be cool too.
And thank you so much, David, for inviting me to be here. It was a true honor to talk to you about all these things.
Well, it was absolutely my pleasure, and I'm glad that we got to connect and get it done.
Yeah. I'm happy to come back anytime you would want me. If I hadn't bored you to tears, if you thought I was a fun time, I thought this was a fun time, I'm happy to come back whenever.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.